on to the Africa zoo. So this year is theme is I have to put it on low mode because like when I'm doing, especially when I was building, so I'm doing the tour and the it's fascinating. So yeah, the park kind of looks really wiggly right now, but because my game is smooth, so there's at least video. So we have the coast section. In the so this is around South Africa with the African and then we also have Penguin Cove, also with the king penguin, since they're also technically found in South Africa. They're actually they found in 7 islands in South Africa. Pretty cool, right? Yeah. And then we have our next spot after Penguin Cove in the main area, and that's well, yeah, it's Mountain Trail, which is also a bit with the Sinai Peninsula, since I think all these animals can be found on the Sinai Peninsula. But it's mainly themed around the Atlas Mountains with the big rocks and stuff, and all these animals, minus the wolves, found there, but they have their own wolf in the Atlas Mountains, the African wolf. But Sinai Peninsula, which is technically Asia, is also I'm including it in Africa since the game counts Sinai Peninsula mostly as Africa, so but like it contradicts, so I included Sinai Peninsula as both countries. Also, there's the African wolf, but that's not in game, and that might be a subspecies or the same species. So usually, that's either a subspecies or its own species of gray wolf anyway, so like it makes sense, and those are found in that spot, so like so mainly, and then over here we have the fox, the red fox, and also red deer, and the exhibit next to it is, of course, the red deer and the wild boar. Now, before I go into the next area, I'm going to go to the other side, which is like a little shopping district with statues of every animal I think in the game has a statue from this area. And then we have the Treetop Diner. And we have like an old colonial kind of building. They're called facilities, and I think we have a bathroom over here, maybe, or no. Actually, I don't know. Maybe there's a bathroom in there. I don't know where the bathroom is. I don't know where the bathroom is, but I think I put one around here. Oh wait, yeah, it's right here. Yeah, like there's a sign for it, and then there's also information. But yeah, we have like a gift shop, and then we have the bug house, which is like the first with monarch butterflies, since they're technically found in Africa. Not just as vagrants, but I think they found it from the African islands. And then we have some beetles. We have the Goliath beetle. They're pretty small. Actually, I mean, they're big beetles, but they're pretty small. Not the biggest beetle, but Titan beetle is from South America. The biggest, but Goliath beetle is pretty big. And then we also have the dung beetle in here. These little sacred scarabs. And then we have the giant tiger land snails as a snail. And then we have our camel exhibit area themed around domestication, since they're domesticated here and Asia. Like over here we also have the African American slender donkey as like a stand-in for the since the donkeys were domesticated here, and we don't have any African breeds, but we don't need to. They're basically the generic donkeys, so I included them in those. Anyway, so like. And then over here we have the crazy big tour area with it's like a little car area, which also has the camels are also included with it as well as the bird tortoises, which we're going to see a little bit later in their active exhibit. But yeah, the different animals in here besides for the tortoises and camels are on here. They do have vegetation through the voice slots, though. But yeah, there's like a whole bunch of animals in here. I'm not going to name them. But the animals that are African that all have interspecies enrichment with each other, that's literally what the cats is. Like, so there's primates, there's a lot of ungulates. There's the apes and the ungulates. Like, pretty much. And then, like, from the big giraffes to the noble chimpanzees and iguanas. And there's also, yeah, those of course. There's like all sorts of random animals. That's literally, and I was like, yeah, should these animals technically be together? No. But does the game allow it, and do they get enrichment with it? Yes. Is that why I did it? Yes, but yeah. Basically, this whole area all loops around. It's like a big looping point. Basically, this is like the biggest of it, so I'm just gonna show it from bird's eye view. Yeah, I suppose can use the water. And they do use the water. And there's also pygmy hippos in here as well. Hippos, look at them. They're kind of like rocks. There's rhinos in here as well. White rhinos, because... And then once you leave this exhibit area, well, okay, I'm a little too far. Once you leave this exhibit, back from the entrance up, move down, and move down, one of the little art pieces, get weed with a goldfish. I mean, get measured up with a gorilla and giraffe. We have the African ones exhibit. Which is really meant, these are the big wild canids, the other ones, besides the others. And then we have this house in area, building area. And then we have the cheetah and white flag. And black one. These guys are actually, I think, well, the rhinos is well mixed. From cheetahs and rhinos mixed in real life, I've been mixed in this way as well. And it's definitely like, this is some African traditional like masks, which is kind of cool. And then this area goes more into the carnivore area, so it makes sense because there's carnivores. Over here. But that's mostly a shortcut for the people who don't care about the small mammals and stuff, which are really ants. We're going to go to... This also helps with the foot traffic. It's just going to help with the foot traffic, so... And then this is basic. So now this is basically a desert house and a desert grassland house with like these, well, it's basically a nocturnal house actually. Like, I think technically all the animals in it are actually nocturnal. I might be wrong. But yeah, really there are actually the house. It's still even even here it's like the big, I guess, the big trees here there. Yes. This has like a lot of pieces, like this area. It always gets a little laggy around this building. But in the building is Fence Fox, Carcoal, Sandcat, and all those exhibits. And then you'll see if you download it. And then there's a, like, in the back there's an exhibit with Springer, Netflix singer Dick, Porcupine, Meerkat, and Aardvark. And Egyptian fruit bats as like a little walkthrough of it, because it's kind of cool idea. Sun swell. There you go. Like, it even has the nocturnal house lighting, so yeah, it's my little house. Over in the middle we have Fennec Fox. On this side we have Sandcat. And I think all of these animals are also in this first area are all technically also Asian. Elephants and foxes are found in the Sinai Peninsula, so they're barely Asian, that's why they're too. But I also made this exhibit a bit different from my Arabian area in the Asian zoo, or Eurasian zoo. If you saw that build. I mean, did it. Here with the carcals and the fox. This is like a small exhibit. Like, smallish area. Also, this is kind of Egyptian themed, like, in a way. Not that all these animals are from Egypt, but this middle area is kind of Egyptian themed, I feel like. Well, this area, I think, all these animals also in this exhibit will have an overlapping range, at least with one another, with at least one other species in this exhibit. Like, if I think the bats, I think it's all of the overlaps might be fallen even. And fruit bats, like, this is like not in Egypt inspired, I guess maybe Egyptian Empire maybe. Maybe Turkey, but yeah. This is like very random animals. If you think about it, but yeah, these are like nocturnal animals, so that's why. And then we also also have a bonus thing where it talks about pangolins. Even though we don't have any African pangolin species, they would be found here too, and they would fit perfectly. Currently, we only have a Chinese pangolin for some reason. I don't know why they haven't added another pangolin, like a tree pangolin or an African pangolin. I mean, I guess probably because they haven't really requested or commented. So, okay, but now I think it's time to go in the outdoor area. Which is the island plaza. The Madagascar dodo from Mauritius. Not that Madagascar animals are actually. I mean, not that Mauritius animals are medium. And then we have the Aldabra giant tortoise here, which isn't in the Reptile House, but Reptile House is right there, so it's just like, this is like basically the garden of the Reptile House, so like, that's what I kept them over here. This is like, Just like how the primates are technically small mammals, and fossils are small mammals. You could maybe consider largest, I guess, carnivore, but I feel like you would consider them a small to mid-sized small mammal, or maybe mid-sized, but some of these are also mid-sized, kind of. So you could consider mid-sized, but small, mid-sized, yeah, something like that. Also, there wasn't really a fence yet. That's kind of a weird, because I don't. Because it's a video game spot. But yeah, the fossils are in this other tortoise down here. And then we have the lemur exhibit, which is also talking about deforestation. No, that's not a lemur, that's an ape. And then we also have the greater flamingo down here. That's the fox is red and black and white. Lemur as well as ringtail. But yeah, these are all Madagascar animals, so that's why they're in here. Then, so this is like an islands area. Like about African island. I guess this is like warm islands. Like this is like a pretend like I know this is a trap because this is like, but like pretend this is like the Plaza and this is like all one area. Just like the tropical plaza is like one section of the small mammals / reptile house. Though I guess, yeah, that's how it's meant to be designed. Although things are either, well, they're technically reptiles if you want to count birds as reptiles. I mean, I guess technically you could, but. Yeah. There's also a there's the glass frog, or this is a glass bullfrog, but that's not what it's called. It's called bullfrog. And there's also buff adder on the side. Death adder. I mean, not death adder. Sword viper on the side. And then there's the actual exhibit for this guy, which I mean, I think in the back, I mean, canonically made it so it's connected to the safari area as it's like their outdoor area. And this is supposed to be like their indoor area. For the tortoises, but yeah. Tortoises are... tortoises are they are the third largest tortoise. I mean, the third largest tortoise already is outside, so like... tortoises is meant to just be like the main attraction currently. Well, I guess for like indoor area. It's like what did people do about they did fit the area that day. Islands of Madagascar area, like where we at Reefs, Log, I don't know, Madagascar, what about this also. Though I guess some of the actual animals are more split out. And then over outside we have the Nile Mantra lizard area. Outside we have room for some other animal, which could be the Nile crocodile if they ever were a crocodile, if they ever had one. And then some other. And then this goes into. Yeah, over here we have leopard, lions, and hyenas. And then we finally have the elephant and couldn't. Okay, look. Okay, now we're gonna go on the ground. Over, I know it looks like, but over in here is the actual. Exhibits with the spider hyena and the striped hyena over here. This is hyena haven, and then on the other side of the rocks is the spotted hyena. The bigger of the two and more, but I feel like well known. And then on the opposite side, we have Panthera Prideland. With African leopards and in here, African lions in the other exhibit next door. Technically West African lions specifically would like those national. And then over here we have the elephant tunnel. And there's a lion on the side. But over here we have this empty area. Which is actually the elephant exhibit. And Hamadryas baboon. Bush elephant, actually. Oh, the baboons can swim.